welcome.
Thank you, Elizabeth, and thank you to you and all of Silver Lake for hosting us. We're right on that border of Silver Lake and Echo Park, a community that I lived in and a community that I do live in now. And it's really wonderful to see so many of you here. Before I get started, I wanted to just give a special thanks and an opportunity. And I also wanted to point out that we have Yumi Ha here from Congressman Becerra's office. Yumi is over here. Thank you so much for being here as well. But I wanted to especially welcome everybody to Mayberry, and as somebody who's done community organizing, I never missed the opportunity to do a little bit of community organizing. So Rosa Eshak, who is our principal, is here, and I was wondering maybe if you want to come forward and just welcome people or say anything you're working on, because you might get a bunch of volunteers or resources from folks out here who I planted trees myself here, did some of the work. There's a beautiful tile art piece that's on the south side of the school if you've never seen it. I was up there late at night working on that with some of you before. And just let us know, and thank you so much for hosting us.
Thank you.
Sorry, this one's
That's okay, that's okay. Thank you. Well, welcome everyone to Mayberry Street School. It's an honor to host the Town Hall meeting today. I see some familiar faces, and I hope to get to know some of you in a volunteer basis. We can always use the help. We can use readers, we can use technology, we can use gardening, anything that a school can benefit, students can benefit from. We can always use the help. So you're welcome to come by, offer your help in any which way you may wish to. Okay? Thank you very much.
So tonight's an exciting night, and I want to get to our conversation, so I'll keep my introductory comments very brief. But I want to thank everybody for coming from all the different neighborhoods of Council District 13 and beyond tonight. And when Michael LoGrande was nominated by the mayor to be our next planning director, I was very excited about it from my interactions with him as an individual, and his responsiveness to community, to council offices, and his ability to get things done. But I also said, you have my full support as long as you also come to your first public meeting in Council District 13. So he's a man delivering on his word tonight, and we're very excited to give you the opportunity. I think all of us have ideas of where we want this city to go. More often than not, we agree on where that should be. I think we have aspirations for a cleaner city, for things like better schools, and a focus in our communities of a sense of place in our neighborhoods. But we also have, I think, a lot of issues right now that are before us in what does that translate at on a block-by-block, street-by-street, neighborhood-by-neighborhood basis. So we're an incredible collection of villages here in Los Angeles. We're a city unlike any in the world. It's tough to find the comparison, both in the things that we do wrong and the things that we do well. Richard Florida, who is the academic who studies the creative class, that group not just of artists, but people who are creators, whether they're scientists and academics, young artists and people who are in the film industry. He did a study of American cities recently, and LA was off the charts. We're the #1 city in terms of, for every square mile, how many creative people we have. Even more than New York, a much more densely populated city. And I think there is something that continues to attract people here from other countries as well as other states and cities. But also there's an increasing frustration too about the quality of life here and how we can feel in control of this megapolis that is an incredible place to live, but sometimes an incredibly difficult place to navigate, both politically in terms of having your voice heard, but also just geographically actually getting from one place to another. For those of us who grew up here in LA, we remember a very different city that has come and gone, but the best of which we still seek to preserve. It was always 20 minutes to get to wherever you were going. It's almost like phantom pain from an amputee that we remember what it was like, so we want it back so badly. It hurts every single day. But instead, I think the challenge is best embodied in the laboratory in some ways that is Council District 13, of how we can fight, discuss, agree, have sort of a vibrant platform to then figure out how can we put the right things that we want to see in the future and prevent those that are the wrong things. It's a cliche in Los Angeles that planning is a full contact sport, but it's true. And part of tonight for me was bringing Mike here to be able to talk to you so that you could hear from him, get a sense, and he could hear the concerns of my district and my constituents, but also to move from, as we all know, we've all been there, I've been there myself, it's always easy to mobilize in opposition to things, or it's never easy to mobilize Angelenos, period. But sometimes if we kind of go to the place of fear in all of us, we can get 100 people to turn out against something. And that's good often, because we do need sometimes to prevent things, to stand up for those principles and values that are near to us, especially where we live. But if you get people together to say, hey, let's talk about what we want to see proactively, what are we for, sometimes 5 people will turn out. Because somewhat it's an abstract conversation, it's difficult to wrap our head around, but also to a lot of people, there isn't a sense of urgency or the belief that they can make a difference. Well, tonight is part of that ongoing conversation, both in terms of content and in terms of the process. And I want to thank a lot of you who were experimenting with process in how we get Angelenos to engage more. And whether you don't own a computer at all or whether you're tech savvy, we're trying to open up new avenues to do that. And so we, on the tech side, use something called Google Moderator, which I know a lot of you logged on, to get discussions and concerns ahead of time, and then give people the opportunity to vote on those to see which ones were the most on people's mind. It's hopefully a model that we can refine and work with you on suggestions of how to make it continually better. But this is one of the first community meetings we've done that way to be able to make sure. We're also live tweeting this tonight for those of you who are on Twitter. And we're going to post up online everything that we're doing here tonight. So it's not a one-off conversation. We've all been at community meetings, which were great or frustrating, and then they kind of went nowhere either way. We can do the follow-up. It's the idea that I think we hold near and dear in my office, which is whether it's the 311 app for your phones, which then gives you some accountability. Look, it was 5 days ago or 3 months ago that we asked for that pothole to be fixed, or whatever it was. Why hasn't it been done? Or thank you for doing it. Here's the next one. We want to have that record and that ongoing platform for folks to do. One last note before I bring Mike forward. I really do think that CD13 is the most incredible laboratory in this country to work in. It's an amazing place to do. People ask, what I'm proudest of having collaborated with my district on. It's not one project or another, although I'll talk about a couple of those in a second. It's really this process. It's the times we've disagreed as much as the times we've agreed. It's the over 1,000 people that we graduated, many of you, for our Neighborhood Leadership Institute, which brought people who've never gone to a community meeting or felt completely shut out of government, taught them how to organize their neighborhood, how to use power. And I always said in those meetings that power we give you will sometimes be used against me, but that's the point. You either believe in it or not. You believe in an open process and in listening, or you don't. The Planning 101 that we developed out of this council district, which is now the template for when people say, what exactly is planning? And what is a R1 zone or a C3 zone? I don't understand this Byzantine language that a few people understand, but seems to be changing my neighborhood, how to wrap my head around it. We started doing those Planning 101 workshops, which are now throughout the city. A Planning 102 workshop. We've done work on affordable housing, on parking. These are kind of a curriculum and a group of leaders that I hope to be able to leave behind no matter what happens when I'm out of office. And that was something, when I first came in and said, 8 years from now, I want to make sure whoever comes, now it's going to be 12, but whoever comes after me has this amazing group of folks that are well-informed, that are empowered, and who are able to speak up on the issues that concern them. And the reason why CD13 is such a great laboratory, think about some of the things we've done over the last 9 years, whether it's revitalizing main streets from Atwater Village with a pedestrian-oriented district that forced buildings back to the boulevard to put some emphasis on people who aren't just in cars and to slow traffic down. Whether it's historic Filipino town having a sense of place and working on projects that do the same thing to bring people there and to have a sense of identity where they are. Whether it's Silver Lake, where we've had kind of neighborhood acupuncture, whether it's the Triangle Park and the Farmers Market that completely revitalized the entire east end of our commercial district, to a place like East Hollywood where you can see the community garden that was once in a vacant lot that happened to just be built right across the street from somebody who was a master gardener, and where people speak probably 6 or 7 languages on any weekend when they're tending their food. This is what this district is about, bringing the most diverse collection of human beings that's maybe ever been together in one place and trying to work through our differences and to figure out what things we do stand for and how we can move those forward. So with that in mind, I want to ask Michael to come forward. Michael LoGrande is somebody who we worked very closely with over the last few years. He's a young man who is now the planning director, and somebody who I believe really believes in the same principles that I do, that government should, can, and must be more responsive than it is. We haven't been perfect in our council district. That's part of failing forward. and making sure that while we have the freedom to experiment, that we also learn from our